Now we're official. So like I was saying before though, the narrative essay rough drafts are due today. Not the rough drafts, the final drafts are due today. So please get those uploaded as soon as humanly possible. All right, if they're not uploaded already. All right, and today, the next essay we're going to do is called a causal analysis. And a causal analysis is pretty much just a fancy way of saying cause and effect. All right, so we're going to be looking at a cause and effect relationship. What cause and effect relationship? I'll leave that in your hands. All right, I think it's just more of I guess an organic process if you're choosing what you write about instead of me saying, hey, we're all doing a paper about global warming. All right, not to say that global warming or climate change isn't important, but you have to write about something that's different than writing about something you choose to write about. All right, so just quickly, I'm going to go into content and look at this. I don't even know if this is week 6. All right, I'm just going to wait, is this the right class? Yes, I'm just going to assume this is week 6, but we're in the week 6 writing a causal analysis module. All right. And I've updated a few things. If you browsed it yesterday, I just had to transfer some stuff over from this other course. So it is newly outfitted with material. All right. And I really, again, like I did with the narrative, want to start in reverse. All right. And go over the assignment first. That way, if you have any questions about it, we can get those knocked out. All right. So here we go. Here it is. I'm just going to open mine in Word. Okay. So essay number 2. Before I get started, all right, if you can see my screen, my Word, Grammarly now integrates, into Microsoft Word. Maybe it's been doing this for a long time, but I just discovered it. So if you go to Grammarly's website, it will give you the option to download it. So, and it's free, of course, or I wouldn't be using it. But it integrates into Word, and then you can just click this, and this cool thing happens.
You on Microsoft Word?
Hmm? Yeah, you can mess around with the settings and change the colors and stuff. All right. But if you integrate Grammarly into Word, it just gives you another editing and proofreading option. All
That's
right.
sweet.
Yeah, I like it, man. And it's part of my email too, because I use Outlook, you know. Sometimes it's kind of invasive trying to correct me on stuff that I don't want to be corrected on. No. All right. But it's just another tool in your toolbox. All right, that I encourage you all to use. And I think it's, I was joking a second ago about how it integrates into my email, but it's actually a good thing. Sometimes we do have to have like emails that we want to have a certain sound to them. And then another thing about Grammarly, that's kind of sound like a commercial now, but it does like it'll rate your message, and it'll give you an emoji, like a serious emoji, a joyful emoji or whatever. So it's cool if you want to just like monitor the tone of what you do. All right. Sometimes as a teacher, especially in emails, I can be kind of short, and it's not that I'm intentionally being short. It's just sometimes I just only have time to get right to what the student asked. All right. So that was neither here nor there, but it's just another good tool that you have. But here's our next essay, cause and effect or causal analysis, not to be confused with casual analysis. I know those words look kind of alike, but it is causal analysis. All right, is the study of what happens and why it happens. It is rooted in our fundamental need to know why and what if. Why is pretty much one of the questions that drives humanity. Just this notion or this drive to know, why things happen. All right. Our desire to make connections between the events in our lives and understand reasons and results. And analyzing cause and effect relationships deepens our understanding of the world we live in. So, you know, I always try to have some real world application of the assignments we do. You know, sharing stories are great for connecting us. And then, you know, analyzing causes and effects, you know, it really, you know, it does deepen our understanding of the world we live in. Because when something happens, we can kind of trace the steps of, you know, why it happened. Or when something is about to happen, we can look at, okay, what's going to be the effect of this, you know, once this thing happens. All right. An article analyzing the unexpected outcome of an election, a report linking poor nutrition to low academic performance, or an editorial analyzing the impact of a proposed law are all examples of cause and effect writing. So, you know, these are things that we might see, you know, if we read the paper or, you know, we look at online articles, you know, we see cause and effect in action a lot. All right. Even though we may not be calling it cause and effect, we see it kind of every day, you know, as we're reading, you know, from things from various news sources. Now, here's your job for your assignment. Choose one of the broad subjects below and narrow it down to a manageable topic. Okay, the subjects are here, but I'll get to those in a second. Now, I just told you that you're going to be choosing what you're writing about, and you are, but what you're writing about has to fall in one of the categories below. And the thing is, within those categories, you know, you know, there's a lot to choose from, and you know, I'm pretty you know, understanding when it comes to, you know, the subjects that you choose. But the main thing is I want you to choose something that's one that's you're going to be able to find researched information on, and two, you know, one that you're going to be able to write a paper of this length about. Like, you don't want to choose, you know, a subject that's too broad, like you know, I want to discuss the reasons for the collapse of the auto industry, and you know, those that's a book length, you know, paper. All right. So try to choose something, try to get your subject and break it down. And I use the word subject and topic, you know, differently. The subject is the big idea and the topic is what you're going to break it down to. All right. Now, once you are satisfied with your topic and after you've received your instructor's approval. And, you know, that can be done informally. You can just shoot me an email and say, hey, you know, Norwood, this is what I'm thinking about doing for this project. And I'll say, hey, you know, that's fine. Or, hey, you know, that's fine. But, you know, look at it this way. Or, you know, whatever that conversation will be. Or, you know, if you have an idea already or you come up with something while we're having this meeting, you can just shoot it to me in the chat. You know, that's fine. But again, I just want you to choose something, one, that, you know, you're comfortable writing about, and two, you know, something that's going to work for this project. All right. So once you are satisfied with your topic and after you have received your instructor's approval, compose an essay that either A, identifies a phenomenon, meaning a social issue, academic issue, event, trend, or whatever, and discuss the resulting effects. Meaning, for this essay, if you go with this option, you're going to say, here's this thing that happened, or here's this thing that's going on, right? And here are the effects of this thing that's happening. All
Mr.
right. So
Norwood?
that was a question or some.
Yes, that's a question.
Yeah. Say it again.
Can an event be a historical event?
Absolutely. And the thing is, Matt, I knew you were going to ask that.
Yes, because in my writing style, you'll get two things. One, a paper that sounds like a lecture, and two, a history lesson.
Yeah. No, that's actually, you know, as a history major, you're probably going to be doing a lot of causal analysis. All right. So now, you know, by all means, all right, please do that. All right. Or you can go with B, meaning like, okay, here's this thing that happened, and now here's why it happened. All right, or here's why it's happening. So you can go with A, right? Here's something that's going on, and here are the effects of it. Or you can go with B. Here's something that's going on, and here are the causes of it. All right. Simply put, you are to discuss why something happens or the effects of something that happened. And I know I'm using vague terms here, but when we get down to the topics or the subjects, hopefully that'll become more clear. And now this is where we're kind of departing from the essay we just completed. This one's not a personal essay, so phrases like I think, I feel, in my opinion, I believe, we should start, excising these phrases, from our vocabulary, at least from our academic vocabulary. And, something I impart to my students, and if you've had me before, you've heard this before, but when we think about, or when we put ourselves in the academic writing mindset, one of the things we should remember is nobody cares how we feel, nobody cares what we believe, nobody cares what our opinions are. So we should not be starting our sentences with, I think, I believe, I feel. And now, as an instructor, of course I care how you feel. All right, but we have to anticipate that our writer is not going to care how I feel, or how you feel. They care about, things that can be proven. All right. In other words, they're going to be asking for the receipts. Like if you make a point, okay, show me how that's true, in a way that's not based on your experiences. All right. So don't fall into that trap of, making everything into a personal essay. All right. Also not a pro and con essay. And I think sometimes as student writers, there's a tendency to say, to cover all bases in a paper, like talk about the positives, talk about the negatives. All right. And sometimes that's necessary, but a lot of times you're going to be asked to make a point, and you should acknowledge, what the other side's thinking, but at the same time, it's don't fall into that trap of writing a pro and con essay. All right. And yeah, especially for our next essay, which is an argument. I don't want to get too.
So I got a question.
Yes.
Um, like just to try and clarify what you're saying, um, what I'm thinking. Example, if I was to write my essay on um weight loss can be done without a diet, is that something like that would be like my firm argument or something, and then I just support it or something? Not saying that I
Yes.
believe it, but
That would work. Just we would have to spin that for this essay, but yeah, that would work, in like for an argument essay. Weight loss can be, people can lose weight without dieting. Okay.
so with that being said,
Here's
avoid
how.
a lot of pros and cons.
Nah, let me for this essay, Shamika, if you wanted to pursue that, a way you could frame that would be the effects of trying to lose weight without dieting.
Mm.
Okay.
So with
So,
the pro and con part, don't put those in there.
now take that out of your thinking for this class.
Okay, that's gonna be a
Yeah,
little hard.
no pro cons, no pro cons. All right. So the goal of this assignment is to analyze causes and or effects of an occurrence. Okay. Analyzing causes or effects of an occurrence. Why something happened, or the effects of this thing that happened. All right. That's all this essay is. Okay. Either why something happened or the effects of this thing that happened. All right. And now, and I will go back to your point too in a minute, Shamika, when we start discussing potential ideas for this essay as well. Here are the guidelines. Sufficiently narrow topic. That's important. Okay. And when I say sufficiently narrow, I mean something that you can manage within 4 to 6 pages. All right. So if your topic is too broad, then you're gonna, when you're writing this essay, you're gonna feel like you haven't covered everything, and then your reader is also going to be asking questions that you may or may not have anticipated. So once you decide on what you want to write about, try to narrow it down and try to make it as specific as you can. All right, and I'll show you some examples in a second here. Now, our last essay was 3 to 5. This one's 4 to 6 pages. Okay, 4 to 6 pages. And let me say something about that. All right, let's say this is an essay, right? All right, don't do one of these numbers between every paragraph. Not that much. I don't, that's too much. But some of the essays I see where there's like 2 or 3 additional spaces between each paragraph. And I don't know if students are like trying to get extra space in their essay, or just it's a formatting issue, but don't do it. All right, or try to catch yourself if you're doing it. And then um, your English teachers, like most of us have read like thousands of essays, and that's not even an exaggeration. All right, like if you consider like drafts and all that stuff, or thousands of pages of essays. So most of us, like when we look at an essay, we can tell just by looking at it that the formatting is off. So make sure your formatting is set up correctly for this project. Make sure you're double spacing properly. Make sure you're using the right font. You don't need bold print anywhere on an essay. You don't have to bold the title. I know sometimes you bold things to show emphasis. Like I bold things all the time, but I'm a teacher. Man. Teachers do weird stuff. All right. But in your essays, you don't need any bold print. Italics. Only time you use italics is if you're like book titles, movie titles, album titles. All right. I forgot you could see me. I had something wrong. All right. All right. So yeah, I don't know, man. I blame everything on the pandemic these days. All right. So yeah, make sure your formatting is set correctly. Also, make sure your margins are set properly. And one, you may have to go into layout and make sure your margins are set to 1 inch. But then you also may have to mess around with this ruler up here. All right. So make sure you're doing that stuff. All right. Now here's
Oh,
another. Go ahead, Shamika.
I'm sorry. Our title shouldn't be
Comprehend.
bolded.
Nope. Don't bold anything. Now here's the thing, Shamika. You should have a bold title. Just don't use bold print. You get what I'm
What?
saying? All right. All right. Because remember, your title is your first attention grabber.
And
I'm
less
glad you brought that
confusing.
up too, Shamika. So I don't care what you call your rough draft, but make sure your final draft has a title. All right. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Title's your first chance to grab your audience's attention. But again, just use the same print for everything. All right. I break the rules because I use Arial font, but in your essay, make sure you use Times New Roman. All right. I think the neat freak in me likes Arial because it looks cleaner to me, but do what I say, not what I do. So, all right. All right. Now, here's something that's different also from our last essay. Second person point of view, we're always avoiding that in academic writing, but now we're avoiding the first person point of view, meaning no I, me, we, our. Okay. So this essay, first and second person points of view are off the table. All right. So again, we're just getting out of the I mindset where everything is kind of based on like my experiences or my opinions. All right. And something else that's a little bit different, you need a clearly stated thesis statement at the end of your intro paragraph. Okay. Now, even though the draft isn't due until 2 weeks from now, I want you all to begin thinking about your thesis statement as early as possible. All right. And I will give you some guidance on creating thesis statements, but just, off the top of my head, make sure your thesis statement doesn't make an announcement of intent. And what I mean by that is, don't have a thesis statement that says this paper will discuss the effects of school closures in the Detroit public school system. All right. That's an announcement of intent. All right. But you can switch that and say school closures in Detroit public school system have had these effects. All right. And you're gonna name the effects, of course. All right, so make a statement, not an announcement of intent, with your thesis statement. But I'll show you all a couple examples in a second here. And yeah, like I said, it's best to come up with your thesis statement as early as you can. But that's going to be part of our assignment for next week, like coming up with our thesis statement in a few points. So in some ways, our pre-writing, well, not in some ways, but our pre-writing is going to be a very important part of this assignment. Not just because there's a score, but because it's going to help you get organized. All right. Make sure you organize your body paragraphs with topic sentences and make sure they contain relevant supporting details. For this essay, paragraph unity is going to be critical. And just to go all the way back a couple weeks, paragraph unity is, one idea per paragraph. All right. So don't have paragraphs where you address multiple ideas. New idea, new paragraph. All right. Or if you're discussing something that requires an in-depth explanation, you can break that down into multiple paragraphs as well. Just think about when you want to give your reader a moment to pause and reflect. Okay, so you don't want to kill them with like page length paragraphs. So yeah, make sure you're breaking your paragraphs down either when you're going to a new topic or when you just want to give your reader a moment to just to reflect or to pause.
I thought paragraph unity was your paragraphs connecting. The story was connecting paragraph to paragraph or something.
That's more of a coherence issue, Shamika, where each paragraph should flow into the next one. But unity just means every paragraph is organized around one idea, and that one idea is in the topic sentence. But now that I think about it, though, Shamika, what you said makes sense because all of our paragraphs are unified around our thesis statement. So yes, what you said makes sense, but I was speaking more or less along the lines of individual paragraphs because everything in your essay is bound to this thesis statement. Okay, your thesis statement tells everything else in the paper what to do. Okay, are you talking to me, Shamika, or somebody else?
You,
You
myself.
okay, yeah, man. All right, now here's something else that's different. Okay, I should have just said everything's different. All right, this is we're starting something here. Okay, because this paper is, in my classes, I try to like scaffold my assignments where, we start off with an essay that's, it is about yourself and it's kind of short. But a scaffolding process is, each essay, gets a bit more challenging and there's things added to it. So this one's a little bit longer, no first person point of view. And now here's something that's definitely different. Use a minimum of 3 sources cited using MLA citation guidelines. Minimum of 3 sources. Okay. Which is it's not a lot of sources, but we're just getting started because the next assignment and how we wrap up the semester is going to be a full-on research paper. So this is just kind of dipping our feet in that pool. All right.
I have 2 questions.
Okay, you only get one answer. No, go ahead.
First question, is the next paper going to be 5 pages, 5 to 7? Like, are you just going to keep upping the page count?
Yes, I don't know if it might be 5 to 7 or maybe 6 to 8. I can't recall.
Please make it 5 to 7. I have to do papers simultaneously in my history class. Okay. They're equally as long.
Well, that's just being in college.
The second and actually much more relevant question is, I'm going to just go ahead and ask it for everybody that's thinking it here. I'm going to assume that Wiki and Encyclopedia are off limits for that.
Yes. Yes. Okay. But the thing about Wiki, Matthew, is check out their footnotes.
Yeah. I mean, Wiki itself is fine usually. I don't know why it went through a bad period, but
yeah, it's just what I call like academic dogma, where it's like, it's one of those old rules that we don't really question. I don't know. But I always tell folks, Wiki's a good place to start, but look into their footnotes. Meaning like go back to the primary source, if you can, because Wiki kind of compiles, sources or information from different sources. So, go back to that original source. All right. And then encyclopedia. Well, that kind of leads into the next point that I was going to make too, Matthew, where it's in your best interest as students to use academic libraries for your research, whether that's the OCC library, which I encourage you to use. I want to say, and you would have to check with the librarian to verify this, but I want to say as students in Michigan, you all do have access to some other libraries, some other academic libraries, maybe Wayne State or maybe OU. I can't remember off the top of my head, but try to use academic libraries, because if you Google something, you're just going to get so much material, and you're going to have to sift through that to decipher what's credible and what's not credible. But if you're using academic libraries, then that work has already been done for you. Most if not all of what you will find in academic libraries has already been peer reviewed. So try to begin your research with the OCC library. All right, because it's right at your fingertips. And then there's a lot of free resources in there. Free meaning it's you already paid for it in your tuition. All right. So, and then next week, I'll even go over how to find material in our library. All right, and I will also go over how to cite that material in that you find. If you've had me for a class before, like for 1060 or something, well, no, I only start going crazy in 1510. But one of my academic pet peeves is like works cited pages, and I really, really, really do not like when a student just gives me a list of websites as their works cited page, because they're with all the technology these days, in the citation generators, there's really no reason I should be getting works cited pages like that. But I'll talk about that because I already feel my blood pressure rising. All right, but 3 sources and then a complete works cited page. All right, and I'll show you how to do a works cited page, so no worries about that. All right. So here are the guidelines for this thing. And one caveat to all of this is, again, what you're working on is a rough draft. So again, just get your ideas out. We can always go back and reshape. All right. Now, here's what could be the hardest part of this assignment: choosing something to write about. All right. And I'm about to go over some categories, but I just say for this assignment, and for any assignment where you're choosing what you write about, I think the question or the place you should start is just thinking about what you care about. All right. What are you into? What are your interests? And take it from there. And I mean, maybe your interests do lie within history, right? Maybe your interests are politics, or maybe there's some social issue that interests you. Maybe your interest is education. Maybe your interest is fashion, right? Sports, technology, and things of that nature, gaming. All right, which is also a field of technology. But think of what you're interested in, and then start from there. All right, start from there. Like, don't choose some generic topic because it's like a low-hanging fruit topic, but it's not something that you're really interested in. A lot of times we get 1 to 2 pages into those papers and realize, like, man, I don't want to write about this. All right. Or you get, a few pages into that essay and say, man, I have this great idea about something I actually care about. So that's what I say to start, thinking about topics. Think about what you're interested in and go from there. But, make sure one of those interests fall in one of these categories. And again, I tried to make them as general as possible. So choose one of the following broad subjects and narrow it to a topic you can write about in 4 to 6 pages. For example, if you choose relationships, okay, which is a topic or a subject, consider an essay discussing the causes of divorce in the US. And there's real research, done on that. In the US, I forget the exact statistics, but when it comes to divorce, we're between like 46 and 53%. So we can guesstimate by half of all marriages in the US end in divorce. All right. So maybe you have an interest in why that happens or not. All right, that was just an example. But this was just an example. Okay, here's the broad topic, or here's the broad subject, and now here's a topic that you came up with. All right. So we're taking this big idea and then breaking it down to something smaller. Okay. So the category is technology, right? And one of the examples, the effects of digital distribution on the music industry. Like I'm kind of older. So, I grew up like buying cassettes and CDs and all that, but that changed, which I'm not mad at. All right. Because I do
Mr.
like
Norwood?
Spotify. Say it again.
It's Matthew, Mr. Norwood. I have a
Yes.
question. Would a topic be acceptable of saying how social media affects relationships?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Hey, Professor
just
Quinn,
asked you to
I gotta
say
ask you one
single.
question.
Go ahead.
No, when you say cited, I mean, that last page, what we have to do, we just gotta cite it on the last page. Can we just type the words in instead of going to that little, format and, it's kind of confusing
Now,
to me.
your works cited page has to be formatted in a certain way.
Uh-huh.
Let me show you all that next week because you guys don't have to start writing the draft just yet. So
Okay.
I'll make sure I show you all like how to do a proper works cited page for next week before you guys start writing your drafts.
Okay.
But yeah, works cited pages do have to be done in a certain way. And my thinking is most of you are going to have to take English 1520 after this class.
Yeah.
Not all of you, but most of you. It depends on your major, but most majors have to take 1520. All right. And in that class, depending on who you get, they may or may not cover MLA formatting. Some instructors are going to expect you to come in, already knowing that stuff. So I want this class to be a space where we can kind of focus on building that skill. So let me cover that next week though, Walter. Then we'll go into more detail about that. I'll show you the old school way to do it, and then I'll show you some cheats. Not really cheats, but just ways to use technology to our advantage. All right. Because really no reason for us to be doing it though.
Okay.
Hey, we gotta do a works cited page on here too.
Say what?
We gotta do works cited on here too.
Oh yeah. Gotta do works cited for the rest of our assignments this semester.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Because really we're about to segue into one, this paper was a bit more challenging, but our next paper is going to be a transition into argument, which is really to help you transition to 1520 because 1520 is all argument. So we'll end this semester with an argument. So that way, hopefully you can hit the ground running when you take 1520. Also, this is kind of off topic, but if you do have to take 1520, my advice to you as an instructor is to take it right after this class, like winter term, because you're still in that, you're still in the reading writing mindset. All right.
Are you doing 1520?
I don't know. I have to check my schedule. I think I signed up to do a section, but I don't know for sure. I'll tell you what I am teaching though. You already know what it's gonna be tomorrow. It's English 2570, African American literature. Okay, and it does meet a humanities requirement if you need one. All right, that was a shameless plug, but back to what we were doing.
Question about Grammarly.
Yes.
So what's the advantage of writing it on Grammarly as opposed to in the regular Word document?
You just may have to paste it back into Word, but really, I don't see an issue with that. Until I was able to integrate Grammarly into Word, I would just paste all my stuff into Grammarly, or you can upload things into Grammarly. But I think you have to.
I think you can copy and paste it.
So you could do your work here, and then you would just have to paste it into Word.
I guess my question is, what's the advantage of using Grammarly? How does that help?
Oh, it's just like a more intense proofreader.
Okay, I get it.
And it catches things that maybe they don't even call it spell check anymore, but that's what I call it. It catches things that maybe a spell check wouldn't catch. And then it also like picks up like tone. It'll catch if you're using like the same words and phrases. Like it sometimes it'll check for redundancy. So it's just really, really in depth.
Yeah,
And
it
if you
helps
want
you
to,
revise really, really good.
yeah. And there's a pay version that I don't use, of course. But if you wanna step it up a notch, But I've been getting by fine with the free version. All right.
Mr. Norwood,
Yes,
this might be like a very stupid question,
no such thing.
but is cause and effect the same as like the positive and negative effects?
It's not necessarily, but you can, if you're discussing something, your effects don't have to be all positive or all negative. Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Wouldn't that be considered pros and
Nope.
cons?
I knew you were about to say that too. Nope. Okay. We're just not calling it pro con, but it doesn't have to be all positive or all negative. But we want to be careful about that for reasons I'll show you in a little bit here. All right. So, oh yeah, technology. One of the papers that comes to mind when in the technology category, it was either last semester or the semester before, I don't remember, but a student wrote this paper about like microtransactions, Lord, the effects of microtransactions in gaming. And as a gamer, like I don't like microtransactions. And a microtransaction is this: you pay $60 for a game, but then once you buy the game, like you have to buy stuff within the game.
It's a slot machine.
Basically, yes. All right. And it kind of sucks. But the student wrote a great paper about that. So, whatever your interest is, like Matt, you mentioned like the effect of technology on relationships. All right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, man. I just thought of a few effects of that.
How would
Y'all
you
got a little hot.
word that? Like, can I say the positive part about blah 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 and spleen, but it also comes with a negative trait such as blah 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 spleen.
Take out positive and negative. Okay. And then you can say like whatever effects you were gonna say. In some ways, you can let your reader decide, whether they're positive or negative.
So can I say like the impact was blah 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 spleen,
Yeah.
but the effect of it was blah blah blah.
Nah, just you can say impact. That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, man. So now, okay, within that, and Matt, now that you have your topic, and this is going to be for all of us, once we get our topic, now start thinking to some of those effects. Okay. More cheating. That's not, more cheating is what I could say. That's what I can think about off the top of my head. All right. Maybe your interest is in health. And here's just an example: causes or effects of childhood obesity, or some other health issue. That's fine. All right. Pop cultural trends. One of the a good paper I got was with this one, it's like about body enhancement, like people getting the what am I trying to say, man? I guess the fake body parts. Okay. And this student wrote about why people do that. That was pretty interesting. All right. And I think there's often a stereotype that's only relegated to one gender, but males, we alter our bodies too. I remember when that movie 300 came out. People were trying to get the 300 abs. People get ab implants.
That movie was a travesty. It was horrifying from a historical perspective.
Oh yeah, of course. All right. All right, man. That's I think as human beings, you know, I think it especially Americans, but maybe this is a human thing. We like myths more than actual history. Okay. So, yeah. Okay, why certain things become popular? Wow, effects of TikTok. That'd be a good one, since TikTok is fairly new, or at least new to me as an older person. All right, maybe your interest is in education, causes or effects of increased tuition. Or another paper that I got was this student wrote this was last semester. Student wrote a great paper about like the effects of like arts infused education. That was pretty good. Okay, my daughter actually goes to an arts infused school. All right. Economics, you know, how poverty affects education. Again, all of these are examples. You don't have to use any of these. All right. These are just like breaking this stuff down.
That's some good
Social,
examples.
say it again.
These are some good examples.
Oh yeah. I mean, you can use these examples if you want, but I was just saying you don't have to. All right. Social, political issues, you know, maybe that's your thing. Causes or effects of discrimination based on race, sexual identity, religion, gender, or ability.
Linder.
Yeah, hey, I don't know. I don't. It's the pandemic. Blame that for everything. All right. Relationships, causes of infidelity, you know, cheating. All right. Effects of only child syndrome. Or Matt, your topic will fit in this category as well, or the technology category, either or, that's fine. You know, effects of social media on relationships. Okay, that's a lot. Okay. Here's an effect, Matt, for you. Sometimes social media makes things that should be private public. So you know, it kind of puts everybody in people's business, because there is sometimes a tendency like to overshare on our social media. All right, so that's something. Okay.
Well, with like my topic, I was gonna like talk about how social media affects relationships on like, for example, like fake identity or like
Like
pho-
catfishing.
yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
Okay, that'll work.
Okay.
Okay, that'll work. Just start brainstorming. And and I'll talk about this in a second too, but when you brainstorm, you know, just try to come up with a lot. Okay, any effect you can think of. And then once you get that list, think about what you want to pursue in your essay. All right. So there's legal, you know, maybe you're pre-law. Okay. Cause of recidivism. Recidivism is just like our revolving, you know, prison door in the United States. All right. Or, you know, the effects of legal marijuana, even though we're about to take that one off the table, because I don't know if you could add something new to that discussion, you can. And I say that because not from like a I was gonna take that off the table because I don't know, man. It's, you know, I've read like a million papers about that. But I mean, if you can bring something new to that discussion, you know, by all means. All right.
Mr. Norwood,
Yes.
one of my biggest problems with our last essay,
Mhm.
I got assistance on from the net tutor thing,
Nice.
was how to like um make a thesis statement.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
because like, you know, when having a thesis statement, you try to like try to include what your whole paper is about, but it's
absolutely.
hard to do it in like what one sentence.
Hmm.
Sometimes. So is there any advice that you can give on how to, you know, do it?
Yes. Okay. Give me like 5 minutes for that, because
Okay.
that's actually what I'm going to talk about once we get through this. So yeah, I will go through that and then show you all some examples how to get your thesis
Because
statement. And
one of the problems that I had, one of the only problems I had on my last paper that they told me about was just
Mhm.
my introduction and how I didn't include a thesis statement.
yeah, well, the thing is, in personal narratives, you have a little bit of freedom, right? And especially the type of narratives we were doing, you know, your thesis statement could have just been like the I believe statement. But for this one, you are going to need, we're just going more traditional here, where the thesis statement comes at the end of your introduction. All right. But I will come back to that and, you know, go into more detail about your thesis, because it is such an important part of this essay. All right. So sports. Actually, one of my students yesterday in my 1510 yesterday is just gonna write about something like this. I forgot exactly how they were gonna say it, but basically how a lot of adults are questioning whether they should get their children involved in contact sports these days. I forgot how they framed it, but it sounded like a really interesting paper. All right, so sports entertainment, okay. WWE, I don't know why that just came up. All right, media, effects of fake news. All right, effects of media on perpetuating stereotypes, effects of advertisements on children, or whatever. You can take that to whatever extent you want to take it. And then the last one, science/environmental issues, causes or effects of being anti-science. That is kind of a dangerous trend that's happening, in our society today. And dangerous, I mean that in like the most nonpartisan way. All right, it's just like that's kind of a dangerous place. Or effects of girls in STEM. And STEM is what science, technology, engineering, math. And there's kind of a push to get more females involved in this field, which is a great thing. All right, so these are the broad subjects. Now, what you choose to write about is up to you. Just make sure it fits into one of these categories, right? And if you can make a connection, then I'll go with it. Okay, so while you go ahead.
Does it have to fit into one of those categories?
Well, history.
Like, well, social political issues are one thing, but what about actual events?
Okay.
Like, just literally off the top of my head, something like an earthquake or something.
Is this better?
That's not no, that's not my point. Like, and it doesn't have to be historical in this case. What about like physical events, like an earthquake or a natural disaster that people realize, oh hey, look, these houses aren't able to stand up to hurricanes. That doesn't fit. Those kinds of things don't fit into any category.
You're talking about a natural disaster, science, environment.
All right, that's it. I guess that just it doesn't seem to fit with the little blurb of examples you have there. So I'm just curious.
Okay. Natural disasters can be considered historical events. If we look at, New Orleans, there's like before and after Katrina.
I guess my concern or question came from the fact that none of the things that are listed as examples are very physical events happening. Okay. Like science is causes and effects of being anti-science, girls in STEM. It's nothing about like discovering some new kind of medicine that changes something.
Okay. If you want to write about that, you can.
What about the COVID-19 vaccine they're trying to come up with? It's ifs and ands. The CDC says one thing, and then the doctor says another thing.
There's too many unknowns about that right now. Well,
huh?
Too many unknowns about that right now.
Yeah, it's controversial.
Yeah. And Liz, yes. Right. Yes, Liz. That's a good topic. Oops, I meant to chat. Yes.
One more question.
Yes.
It seems like we have to write something that can't be too current because, like you're saying, there has to be a book written about it.
No.
No.
I was saying that you don't want to choose something broad because that'll require a book-length essay. What'd you have in mind?
I'm saying like the sources. You're saying we have to get from the library as in a book.
Oh no, I mean virtual library. So you can there's journals and magazine articles and all that good stuff. So yeah, no. But if you do want to look at books, I applaud that, man. I applaud that.
Okay? I guess I'm a little old-fashioned.
Me too, man. If I switch my my computer around, like you'll see my library. So I do like digital reading, but I also like I like these things too.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, it's a good topic too, man. I don't know, man. Like the effects of, digital learning, I guess. I don't know.
Mr. Norwood,
Yes.
just
There
the
you go.
topic out of my head, just like if I wanted to ever do it. How if college student athletes should get paid or not?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be
That's a
like,
good topic for your next paper. An argument.
okay, yeah, that's what I thought, because would an argument consist of pros and cons at that point?
Here's the thing. What do you think? They should get paid or they should not get paid?
They should get paid.
Okay. So in your paper, you're gonna you're gonna mention, well, X, Y, and Z say, athletes should not be paid for these reasons. And then you're gonna argue against those reasons.
Okay.
Show how they're wrong. So it's not necessarily a pro and con essay, but it is you acknowledging that there are other opinions or other ideas, and you're going to show your audience why they should accept yours as opposed to other
Oh,
ideas.
dang. Okay, I get Wow,
Light
that
bulb
just
went
dawned
off.
on me.
Okay, very good. But yeah, and just off I agree, Matt. They should get paid. Just with the amount of money they generate is totally unfair
Mm.
that they get nothing
Write that down.
except a scholarship,
I
which
can
is
go
good,
on.
but it pales in comparison to how much money they make.
We can talk about it all day, but
Yeah, you're right.
we'll save that for next time.
Yeah, there's some great documentaries too. There's one about March Madness, and it is like mind blowing how much money March Madness generates, and it's not even the entire season of college basketball, just starting in March. It is crazy.
I believe it.
Mr. Norwood, can you repeat that? What you said? State the argument and then get the reader to believe.
What did I
I'm
say?
writing it down this time.
Oh, okay. So you're just acknowledging the opposition, and then showing your reader, it's like, hey, here's what the other side's thinking, but here's how they're wrong.
Okay, gotcha.
Maybe they did use some outdated evidence. Maybe they used some bad statistics. Maybe and I'll show you, especially before we do our next essay, but I'll show you how to look at just look at your sources. And some of our sources, have certain leanings. Like even our local news. Like if you look at the Detroit News and the Detroit Free Press,
Right.
the news tends to be more right leaning, whereas the Free Press tends to be more left leaning. All right. But I think as critical thinkers, we should look at both of these sources of news, and then make our own decisions. All right. So we can't. We should not. We shouldn't ignore things that don't align with our own worldview. That's what I'm saying. All right.
What if some have the facts and some don't? Like when you look at the local news, they don't have all the facts. But when you look at world news, it seems like they have all the facts.
Yeah,
And I know this local news.
Yeah, sometimes local news will break a story before all the facts come out.
Mm.
They just, it's a headline. And then at the end of the day, viewership, makes a difference, or, subscribers or readers. So sometimes sometimes they do have like clickbait and things like that. Or like I said, breaking stories before, all the facts come out.
Oh, I see.
And then I think what makes it even more dangerous these days is, social media, where people just share without, necessarily looking at the facts, or, going to sites like Snopes or factcheck.org. All right. But we're definitely going to have that discussion before you all do your argument. That's it.
Okay.
All right. Now, here's the timeline for this thing. Outline, due 1 week from today. The rough draft is due election day. Then the final draft is due the 17th. All right. And that's the week before you all go on break. So I tried to set that up to where you don't have anything substantial to do over the break, at least for this class. Okay. I can't blame if other teachers slam you at work, don't blame me.
She does too.
Right.
Norwood,
What's up, Matt?
would you be able to do Zoom meetings if we have any questions on Thursdays?
Of course.
As what, individually or as a whole class?
I will just have a Zoom time available for anybody who wants to check in.
Okay.
How long is the break?
The break is
The break is 2 class days or 1 week, I believe.
there we
Oh,
go.
is it?
23rd through the 27th.
Yeah, it's 1 week.
Actually, the 28th, because we do have
Okay.
Saturday sessions. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, my good people. Okay. Here is what is actually due.
Mm-mm.
The outline. Outlines are your friend. Okay. Read the directions here. Basically, this is just a long-winded way of saying put your outline together. Okay. Here's an example. Okay. Bam.
Oh,
Excuse me. All right. Again, just use your MLA heading. You don't have to come up with the title for this thing. That's fine. All right. Here's Grammarly. I don't want to see you though. All right. Now, all right. Here is an outline. Okay. The topic is going to go here. The effects of increasing college costs on students and graduates. Okay. Specific, right? Breaking it down, letting my reader, letting my instructor, letting my audience know exactly what my paper is going to be about. And this is something that's manageable within 4 to 6 pages. Effects of increasing tuition on students and graduates. All right. Now, this is going to be whatever you're thinking. Okay. And this could also be causes of X, Y, and Z. All right. This outline is just made, based on effect. But if you want to look at causes, the only difference is like this would say causes of whatever you're writing about. And then where I have effect here, you would have causes. Now, Matt, to go back to what you were saying about thesis statements, right? A thesis statement, if you want to look at it as an equation, it's just your topic plus a claim about your topic. So it's your topic, effects of increasing college costs. Now, what about the effects? The cost of higher education has increased dramatically over the last decade, which has resulted in potentially devastating economic and emotional effects. So what's your topic? And then what are you saying about your topic? All right. So if we look at
So we can make up our own title?
absolutely.
Okay.
All right. Now, it's kind of generic sounding, right? But, all right, this is fine for your outline because what you're going to come up with in your outline is a working thesis statement. Working thesis just means it's a work in progress. So you have the idea, but the wording may change a little bit once you enter the drafting process. All right. So Matt and others, think about your topic and then, what are you saying about your topic? Or better yet, how does social media affect relationships? And then you can even go even more specific, right? Social media causes infidelity or can cause infidelity. I don't know how else social media affects relationships though. That would be up to you. Infidelity, makes the personal private or makes the private public. That sounded bad.
It can break up marriages and boyfriends and girlfriends.
Does all that. So
Yeah,
Matt,
do all that.
so think about what you're gonna say about how social media affects relationships, and try to capture that in a statement. I know that's easier said than done, but just think your thesis statement is going to go through revisions as well. So that's why I say in your outline, just try to come up with a working thesis statement. Communicate your main idea, but you know, the wording can always be always be revised. All right. Like this one, I may change this one, you know, if I were to fully develop this essay, but this is enough to put an outline together, because now as I'm putting my outline together, or as I'm coming up with ideas, now I'm thinking, okay, what are these economic and emotional effects? Right? So whatever the effects you say, if it's a positive or a negative or however you want to spin it, now what are these effects, or what are these causes? All right. And that's where this work begins. All right. So here I have 1, 2, 3, 4. You can have as many as you want. All right. But try to come up with enough to build a paper. All
Oh,
right.
so I can maybe do a research on how much did social media affect relationships in the last maybe couple of years, and then I can include that in my thesis statement as a fact.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, I see. Okay.
All right. Absolutely. Okay.
Because I saw what you did here. You said the cost of higher education has increased dramatically over the last decade, and I'm assuming you did
Yeah.
research on that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay. It's going up like 300%. I don't know. I forget the timeline. I may have just made that statistic up too. No, I read it a while ago. It may have changed, but it costs a lot more. And it was expensive when I was a student, but it's like way more expensive now.
Yeah.
All right. Now, okay, I got my thesis idea, or better yet, I have my topic. Now I have my thesis idea. Even though I may word it a bit differently, now I'm thinking, okay, now what are the effects? The high cost of college leads to slower graduation and increased dropout. Now I got a couple bullets here to develop this, and I might have to develop this in a few paragraphs, which is fine. Okay, so this could be one paragraph about how increased college costs leads to slower graduation rates, and then it could lead to increased dropout. And what I was talking about earlier about paragraph unity, you wouldn't want to put both of these ideas in the same paragraph. So, you know, you can fully develop each of these points, you know, in separate paragraphs. All right. Same thing, more debt after graduation. Okay. Again, you know, there's two facets of that, right? Sometimes you have to take, or you go to school for one thing, but then when you get out, Sally Mae or Navient or whoever you borrowed from, when they come knocking, you have to start paying them back. So it's like, man, I know I want to work in this field, but now I just need a job. All
Yeah.
right. And
So this subject don't have to be about college, does it?
no, no, this is just the example.
Example, yeah.
This is just the example. All right. So that would be one aspect of more debt after graduation. And then more debt. You know, sometimes if you fall on economic hard times, it's hard to pay back debt, which can affect your credit, which can affect your upward mobility. All right. Like if you want to buy a house or if you want to get a car or something like that, credit matters, right? A lesson I learned later in life.
Yes, it does.
All right. So this could be, you know, more effects. All right. And now college can become cost prohibitive to low income students. Financial aid is available, but may not cover the entire cost of college. Loss of hope for potential students. You have some students who are gifted, some students who have all the ability in the world, or some students who they may not have done that well in high school, but they have the ability, but they're thinking like, you know, I'll never be able to afford college. So, you know, it's not even in the picture for me. All right. Or, you know, sometimes, you know, this would be an underlying effect. You can increase the chance of repeating the cycle of poverty as an effect of the cost of high tuition. Yes. Yes, Elizabeth. Yes. Yes.
Something.
All right. And that's I mean, we got about 9 minutes left. All right, I will certainly go over your question next week, because, and this may sound confusing right now, but I'll discuss it in more detail next week. But sometimes causes can become effects, and vice versa. All right. So if you're confused about that, I'll explain what I mean next week. And now when you're doing your papers, right? No matter what you're talking about, there's going to be some causes or effects that are like on the surface, all right, that are those they're obvious, right? Put those in your paper by all means. All right, definitely. All right. But there are also underlying causes or effects that you, the reader, your audience, that they may not think of. All right. So it's great when your reader reads your paper and they have one of those moments like, man, I didn't even know that. Or wow, I didn't think of it that way. All right. So these are like underlying effects or underlying causes. Effects or causes that are not really on the surface, things that we have to think about. And one of these things, as it relates to this paper, okay, when we think about debt, we think about high tuition. Most of the time, we think like in economic terms, but um, part of this paper, if it were to be fully developed, would be about the emotional toll of debt. All right, because sometimes when you're in debt, when you're like in some real overwhelming debt, it can take over your life. Meaning it's the first thing you think about in the morning, probably the last thing you think about, before you go to bed. It can really become all consuming. All right, and that would be a good part of this paper. And so think about, like, visualize your paper. What points do you want to lead with, and then what points do you want to build up to in your paper? Meaning, like, do you want to begin with some of these obvious points and then kind of build up to some more underlying things, or do you want to begin with a discussion of like underlying points and then sort of end with the obvious ones? Think about how you want your paper to play out. But emotional toll of debt, debt has been proven to adversely impact mental health. And just that phrase has been proven. That means I gotta bring in a source to show that. Okay. And then intense stress can lead to depression.
Yeah.
Right. So now we're thinking like, man, I made this investment, 5 years of college, 6 years of college, whatever. And, all I got out of it was debt. All right. And it's sad, but, sometimes that's the thinking. All right. And then here, what do you want your reader to take away from your paper? Okay. Lowering or freezing the cost of college is in the best interest of the student and really society at large. Okay. But if I were to fully develop this paper, I'd take it a step further. Free education.
Does the
Right.
thesis statement come there again, like it's stated at the end of the intro and the end of the conclusion?
You can reiterate your thesis statement, but don't just like copy and paste it to the in your conclusion. But yeah, you definitely want to revisit your main idea in your conclusion. Really, you want to bring your reader full circle. Okay, bring him full circle. All right. So here's your job for next week. Come up with the topic. Put your outline together. In the meantime, if you have questions about this thing, or if you want to shoot your topic by me, just send me an email. All right. And there's a final two things. We got about 5 minutes left. All right. You can create your own template for this, or you can just do one of these numbers. You can just open the example and then just do it like that. Just delete everything that's already in here and replace it with your own material. Or you have this option. Here's just oops, I didn't mean to do that. Here's just a template. All right. And with the template, you can just fill in all this stuff. Okay, here's Grammarly again.
Are we turning that in, or are we
Yes,
just?
there's an assignment folder for it. Yep. Make sure you upload it. So all this is blank. You can just type in what you need to type in. Now, for your essays, you're going to get rid of one of these. You're either going to get rid of cause or effect. So if your essay is going to focus on causes, you would just do that. Or if your essay is going to focus on effect, you would get rid of that. All right. Or again, you can make your own template as well. Just make sure it has all these elements: topic, thesis statement, and then your points. And now, one thing about this assignment, of course, there's a score associated with it, but take that out of the equation. Use this assignment to get yourself organized. All right. Because when you look at it, this is a paper. because now I have my thesis statement. Now all I have to do is flesh out my intro, and then I have points for my body paragraphs, and all I have to do is flesh those out. And I'm keeping it, or you're keeping yourself organized because now you have like the order in which you want to present your ideas, right? So when you're doing your outline, try to envision how you want your paper to look. Okay. Because
You have an example of the
again,
second?
the outline is going to help you, put your paper together. All right. So that was a final point.
You have an example of your second page?
My second page.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Like you said, it's gotta be 2 to 4 pages, right?
No, that's the draft. The outline just has to, it's the length that, that requires you getting your ideas out.
Well, that's the
But this
outline.
one's about a page.
Okay.
All right. But I would just say, make sure you have enough material to put your paper together. Also, like I said, you can, if you want to do one of these, like you have an additional, effect you think of. And that's what I said, like in the brainstorming process, it's always best to come up with more ideas than you would actually use in a paper. So, try to get some ideas down and then think about the ideas that you want to pursue, in your paper.
Okay.
All right. And then finally, go ahead, Shamika.
Are we turning that in with our draft?
Nope. Turn this in Monday of next week.
Oh, okay. I got
So
it.
the outline is going to turn into the draft. All right. And then the final thing, really just to get us in the cause and effect mindset, there's a discussion question. And it's just some generic effects of social media. And,
Okay.
think about it.
Hmm.
Right. And positive, negative, that's up to you. Social media is kind of like fire, right? It can warm you or it can burn your house down, but that doesn't mean that it's necessarily inherently good or bad. All right. So yeah, think about it. Okay.
Sherwood,
Yes.
are we gonna get a grade for our discussion post that we did?
Yes.
And-
Yes. You're gonna get grades for all of them.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
And
Right.
the inquisitives as well?
Say one more time.
And the inquisitives?
Yes. Okay. Other final thoughts? We got about 1 minute. Or you paid for 1 more minute. What time is this class over? 11:30, 11:20.